nicely, and given that the two Manchester clubs are out, the two clubs above Tottenham in the Barclays Premier League, then I suppose Spurs are valid favourites.
They're the highest placed side, as you've already pointed out, but this is the FA Cup, and if you take it for granted in any way, the dear old lady that she is, has a habit of kicking you right in the pants.
Well, the draw did divvy up the opportunity for an all-Premier League cast in the last 8, but Leicester from the Championship had other ideas, winning at Norwich yesterday.
Absolutely, a good win. Nigel Pearson has got, for that level of football, a very talented squad.
Remarkably, this is only Stevenage's second season in the Football League. They fought their way up from the non-league ranks. They've won at Wembley in doing that, in the non-league's equivalent of the FA Cup, the FA Trophy. They've done that a couple of times recently, and some of those players in that tunnel now have been Wembley winners in that respect.
They've earned the right, Martin. They will feel as if they're valid, stood alongside those high-paid Premier League stars.
A little backstory for you. Phil Dowd, the referee, sent off Michael Dawson, the Spurs captain today, in the FA Cup. In the 4th round last season, he gave 2 penalties against Tottenham as well. They were knocked out 4-0 at Fulham. Is that a good omen for Stevenage, maybe?
You commentators love that, don't you? Yeah, do you know what? If you're Stevenage Borough and you're a fan, you'll cling to whatever guys like you can give them.
Well, the stats are for the pre-game. What you do on the pitch. There's never been any disguising that, despite the talk of omens and unlucky grounds or whatever. That old expression, your name is on the cup. You only get your name on the cup by doing the right things when the matches start. Colour clash today, seeing Tottenham on a change strip of primarily all black.
A small side, are they, Martin? Stevenage, physical, they won't be intimidated.
And for a couple of the Stevenage players, this is extra special. 36-year-old goalkeeper Chris Day started his career with Tottenham, as did defender Ronnie Henry, whose grandfather Ron Henry won the FA Cup twice with Spurs in the early 1960s. Understandably, today's lineup unchanged from the 11, which picked up 3 excellent League One points by winning at Sheffield Wednesday on Tuesday.
You look at this, Bostwick in midfield, attracting attention. You've got players like Freeman, who've already had experience at Arsenal. Henry's you picked out, but Beardsley and Charles, a lot of responsibility on them to deliver goals.
Some questions as to how strong Harry Redknapp's side would be today. 2 vital Premier League games coming up at Arsenal and at home to Manchester United. And there are 6 changes from the side which thrashed Newcastle 5-0 last weekend. A full debut, the former Blackburn defender Ryan Nelson, and a second start for Louis Saha. Got 2 of those goals against Newcastle. He came south, of course, from Everton last month.
Interesting that Tottenham's seam, as we've been led to believe, start with the back 3 with Walker and Rose as wing-backs. Bale pushing on. Livermore, Parker, I would have thought maybe, but Livermore seems to be preferred in that central role. We'll see if that back 3 does develop and is successful.
Well, he's shuffled his resources. A lot of respect for Stevenage. 2 of his coaching staff, Joe Jordan and Clive Allen, were at Hillsborough on Tuesday night to see Stevenage, who were a bit rusty because they had some games called off, particularly here with the recent bad weather. But they got down to business again. It's the only game they've played since they won in the 4th round. And Tottenham, with these changes, are taking on a club that have lost only 1 of their last 20 games in all competitions. Stevenage are not here to make up the numbers.
Talk about winning being a habit. That's the sort of thing that Harry Smith has looked to develop and continue since arriving at the club, and these guys have come to expect.
Luke Freeman, who was signed after a loan spell here from Arsenal at 15. He was the youngest player ever to take part in the FA Cup proper. And he he was a very young boy at Gillingham. Against the likes of Louis Saha, who scored in an FA Cup final.
There's a lot of attention around Freeman. Harry's not used to that, is he?
Harry was wondering what he was going to bump his head on if he jumps up to either celebrate a goal or maybe remonstrate at a goal conceded. We'll see. The rain of yesterday in these parts has given way to strong sunshine, drop in temperatures, but the playing conditions very playable. And Chris Day, who did play in the first team for Spurs, but you have to dig into the record books long and hard to find it. It was in some qualifying games for the Intertoto Cup. They played when Spurs were at home down at Brighton.
Under Jerry Francis, he was manager.
I think it might have been, yeah.
And people like Alan Pardew were conscripted into the squad.
Yes, Spurs were fine for fielding weakened side, but Chris Day at least belonged to Tottenham at that time and was an England under-18 international. So twice that age now. Challenged by Roberts, the centre-back who actually managed the team in the interim period between Graham Wesley's departure to Preston and the arrival of Gary Smith, who's very much a London lad, but has made his name, such as it is, in the USA and in the MLS Cup with the Colorado Rapids.
Trophy's a trophy, Martin.
It's a big trophy, isn't it?
Absolutely.
All credit to Phil Wallace and his board of directors here at Stevenage to give Gary Smith his first real chance in management in his home country. Well, Tottenham are going to be in a tussle here. You touched on it earlier. Stevenage are built on strong physique, forward thinking, forward playing in the faces of the opposition, whoever they are, famous faces or the maybe less well-known players they come up against in their League One fixtures.
When you haven't played for a while, I guarantee they've practiced a lot of set plays, this being one of them that they'd have looked at trying to open Tottenham up with.
There's a good chance to make an early statement here. Freeman, the 19-year-old, with the free kick, and not quite what he had in mind. Back by Ronnie Henry. And a touch on, and Phil Dowd having a look at an early penalty claim or two, and I mentioned he gave two against Tottenham pretty early on, the last time he refereed them in the FA Cup. That's awkward for Carlo Cudicini.
Referee's allowed the game to play on, and you can tell from Cudicini's face that he's not best pleased with that. Now, is this a penalty? See why he's not giving up.
Well, quite a day for a couple of the lesser lights yesterday. Leicester winning at Premier League, Norwich, Birmingham. They did, of course, win a domestic trophy last season when they were a Premier League side, the League Cup, getting a draw at Chelsea. And Gareth Bale, we were interested to see where he might start the game. Been more indications in recent Tottenham games that he's not an out-and-out left-sider now, that he wants to roam, and Harry Redknapp seems to be giving him the licence to do that.
I think they probably feel if he does park up exclusively on the left-hand side, he's more easy to isolate. So allow him to roam, allow him a little bit of freedom where the responsibility to pick him up falls onto different shoulders, and therefore you've got more chance of him breaking free.
He's a big unit, Darius Charles.
He just. Cabal's no. He's 6'4", Cabal, built well, so nice little cameo. I think both he and Beardsley will ask certain questions of Tottenham's backline.
Well, there is the back three, isn't it, of Dawson, Nelson and Cabal.
It is taken shape, most certainly.
Marcus Cabal has got the power to drive on into midfield. He's got Danny Rose on his side as a wing-back, Kyle Walker on the other flank, both powerful and pacey.
Thing is, if one of the three players in the back line rampages forward. And my maths tell me you've got possibly a 2 against 2 situation, which in a cup game like this is a gamble.
Long by Dawson. You feel Stevenage would be quite happy to cope with that. Beaten Hartlepool, Stourbridge from the non-league ranks, Reading away, Championship side, league above Stevenage. Excellent win and revenge for last season where they went out against Reading. And then Notts County here in round 4 without conceding a goal. So if they get one, we'll see what this Tottenham team are made of. And they've got a corner here.
The ball gets a shout away from Cudicini. Just shows you they're not overly comfortable. They're a little bit concerned about those balls coming into the area. If Tottenham, as we know now, have packed their midfield, then Stevenage quite simply bypass it by going over the top.
There is our first look at Gary Smith. Only his 3rd match as manager of Stevenage. Had won the other 2 1-0. And they're looking to go 1-0 up here, and half a chance of doing just that with Chris Beardsley.
Good flighted ball in. You see players trying to get across the flight of that. Good movement. Just can't get the contact.
Beardsley, who's been challenged in his future profession in the build-up to this. He's passed the PFA course in journalism, and the current journalists at the Stevenage pre-game get-together for the media asked him to compose a headline for a Stevenage winner, a first sentence of a match report. He came up with something like, "The crazy gang is alive and well here at Stevenage," because Gary Smith has Wimbledon connections in his past. Just too long for Defoe. They could wipe those, steer those headlines into a different direction.
Just think there's a hand goes up for Defoe being in an offside position. That right back might have a little case to answer there for being dozy.
By Kabul, after Ryan Nelson had found himself the wrong side of the ball. Scott Parker, one of the regular Premier League players who is selected in this starting lineup. Huge depth, of course, to Tottenham's resources. They too have got to this stage without too many problems against Cheltenham. And at Watford, actually, they had a rough ride, a Friday night game to set off the 4th round weekend. It's 1-0 from Van der Vaart, who has not been left out or rested today. He's actually a few players on Harry Redknapp's injured list.
Both these sides will have aspirations of achieving something in their league programme, and it's always a difficult juggling act. Cup run, league success. Which one do you bias?
Up come Dawson. Danny Rose, actually left-footed, to clip in the corner.
They look comfortable in dealing with that, Stevenage, as if they're well organised against set plays. Always looking for little indicators of aspects like that in a team's makeup.
Walker, Parker taking over. Dawson. It's the custom themselves to these surroundings, although 2 of them would remember the pre-season friendlies against Stevenage. That was on the Tottenham fixture list because the reserves played their games here for a while.
Very similar. Sun was out, but about 15-20 degrees warmer.
Yes. Gary Smith has Arsenal connections, but in his heart, Tottenham were his first love, because his father was on the Spurs books when Tottenham were winning cups and even the league back in 1961.
Defoe just plays for this, gets across his defender, knows he's going to be chased down, and there will be contact. Referee no other option but to give the free kick.
Remember, Stevenage at this stage of the competition for the first time in a relatively short history. Reformed as a club back in the 1980s. From the original side, Stevenage Athletic, that played here. They became reborn as Stevenage Borough, but they've dropped the Borough now. They're in the Football League, and the Broadhall Way, as the ground was known, is now the Lamex Stadium. It's a money-making exercise in the commercial world that they've now entered much more so. And of course, big money, prize money for reaching this stage of the FA Cup. And who knows, maybe a quarter-final place at the end of this intriguing afternoon. It hasn't quite got going yet. A bit of sparring. Spurs sorting out a different formation, a different lineup.
And that's always a test. You set up differently against an opponent you don't readily know a great deal about on a day when you've got a cup. Those sort of things tend to then go against you. So I'm not surprised Tottenham are taking their time just to find a bit of rhythm.
Turned on by Charles, who's just as accustomed as a defender as he is up front.
He's one of those players that's equally as dangerous either end. Very effective.
Freeman. From the 7-goal left-back led. He set up a chance there, but for once the two front men were a bit back on their heels. Beardsley and Charles.
This is something Stevenage is going to have to deal with, not allowing Tottenham to come out readily and just make their way to the halfway line with ease.
Ryan Nelson hardly featured for Blackburn this season. He's recovering from knee problems that have blighted his career. And there was talk that he was going to leave English football, the Kiwi, and go and coach in the USA. And here he is, finding himself in a Spurs shirt.
Go figure. I followed those stories. There was talk of him going back to DC United in the MLS at the end of this season. And he was only there at Tottenham to train. Lo and behold, here he is starting games.
Well, Harry Redknapp has many qualities as a manager, one of which, of course, is he does deal well with the older players. He understands their mentality, their need perhaps to have a day off from time to time.
That's experience, isn't it?
And Saha trying to time his run, but given offside.
Seemed like a late whistle, which is what's frustrated Louis Saha. Couldn't have had a better start, could he, to his Tottenham career? I don't think you can have an argument there either.
No, he was caught sleeping, and I suppose one thing that Louis Saha these days isn't really known for is his full-on work rate, but he's got absolute quality, and again, it's in Harry Redknapp's remit to use him wisely and recognise when he might run out of steam, and he's certainly got huge talent, as he's already shown in those 2 goals against Newcastle. There's the other number 15, Freeman, the other end of a career. Bale, a little cut on that and get it into where Rose could reach it, but it didn't work out.
He knows Rose is a willing runner down that flank, so that option is always there for him. Gets to the stage then when Rose goes and he uses that to open up the defence for a ball down the channel.
Rose with the header. Dawson stepping in. There's no doubt that there's a battle to be won here for Tottenham first up, if they are going to impose their quality.
And that will happen in midfield, as it always does. If you want to control possession, you control the centre of midfield. And at the moment, Stevenage's credit, they're not allowing that to happen.
Joel Byram in that midfield with Michael Boswick. Quite a rise to get into the playoff positions in League One for Stevenage. Didn't start the season particularly well. Graham Westley has been their guru. Had 2 spells here as manager. But, opting for maybe the greater traditions at Preston North End. And I just wonder when the opportunity arises whether one or two of these players who are very loyal to Westley, like Boswick in midfield, might find an opportunity to follow the departed manager.
Boswick's attracted the attention of some larger clubs in the Championship, so this side, if it's successful, probably will get broken up at some stage. The circus is in town, is that the line?
Yeah. Left it to you.
You're all heart.
Rose.
Been scraps, isn't it, for Saha and Defoe so far?
That will be the Stevenage game plan here. Break up the play. And they can get the ball forward. They have got a bit of football about them as well. But set pieces are very important. This one has gone against them.
They know they're probably not going to have a great deal of possession, given that Spurs' pedigree should be the one that comes out on top, especially in midfield with Bale and Parker. But set plays, good organisation, could put them in a good position.
Here's Jake Livermore. Has had a very good season. He's in and around the first team throughout it. One of those that Tottenham have produced.
Tottenham's midfield is not the easiest party to crash, is it?
Danny Rose, who was a signed player, but came very young. It's the same sort of difficult. His ball in towards the near post, and Defoe, who thrives on scoring goals, only had another one to his name then.
Just wondered if the cutback was on. Does well to get himself some space. And you know Defoe's reactions are ultra quick. Just a little bit too far in front of that near post to get the contact to put it in. That's what you're looking from Danny Rose. Get in behind, get the defenders turned and facing their own goal.
No breakthrough as yet for the side from not only 2 divisions higher, but are pushing, still in contention. No exaggeration to say, to actually win the Premier League. And more on that in the next couple of weeks when they play Arsenal away, followed by Manchester United at home. Here's Freeman, though, giving Kyle Walker a problem. And Walker very much in the England frame these days, so it's good play by Freeman.
Freeman, when he was a young player at Gillingham emerging, was a real buzz about him.
Tottenham giving it away. Wilson doing likewise for Stevenage.
There you go, some good old-fashioned defending from Kabul.
What from Stevenage again? Ronnie Henry, who says his grandfather, famous grandfather in Tottenham history books, is his real inspiration.
Ron Henry's grandfather was my first coach at Spurs as a 16-year-old, so yeah, quite fond memories of him.
He was a left-back, wasn't it?
Was. Great touch. Used to work with us in training and was always impressed. I'm thinking, he's finished. I'm not that good now.
Well, they won't expect to pen Tottenham back for long periods, but they will expect a little bit more forthrightness about the ball into the box, and maybe the touch or two from the strikers. And a breezy afternoon, a bit of chill to that breeze as well. It's a nicely appointed stadium that Stevenage have got now, as they've moved up non-league ranks. They've increased the capacity. It's just under 7,000 today.
They've not pushed it too far. They've stayed sensible, and it's an if still, they progress this season into the division above, they've got the option, I dare say, to take it again, so it's all incremental.
We're less than 30 miles due north from White Hart Lane, if you don't know your geography. So there is a local feel to it, as well as a global feel.
The irony being that a lot of Tottenham and Arsenal fans will be based in the Stevenage area, so there's some divided loyalties, I'm sure, today.
A good number of the Tottenham players living somewhere in between, I would guess. Nice Hertfordshire villages. Followed by Byram. Goes again, beaten to it by one of his own teammates, Sir Darius Charles. Henry. Wilson. And the shot's on from a player who loves to shoot from distance. And, Bostwick. Almost comes down for Charles there, and again it was just an indication of how a decent ball, not just a hoof into the penalty area, played forward with purpose.
You've got two big target men in Beardsley. Was there a shout for handball there? Just wouldn't fall for Charles, would it? It shows you that old up, back and through, still effective.
Well, if you just walked into the ground and you didn't know which was which, you certainly wouldn't have had too many clues from the first 20 minutes. Stevenage, you could argue, had a bit more of the ball in the attacking third from their point of view than Tottenham have managed. Parker trying to run it from deep, which might not have been the wisest policy.
Credit to Stevenage, they've worked hard, they'll have identified that's what Scott Parker likes to do. Allow him to do it, and then hijack him.
And that was a ball that was off the ground, but was there to be won. Players from both sides. Sorry, Gary.
Ryan Nelson, just a little bit fortunate, because you see once there's contact, referees quite often just default to that mechanism where they say it's a foul.
Defoe. Livermore slipping. He was a bit lucky that the ball got through to Charles, but he was dispossessed by Parker. Again, Spurs caught in possession in their own half. Parker tries again. Livermore.
Just beginning to get their passes together, Tottenham, but they're not progressing. They're not really penetrating into Stevenage half.
And it's error-strewn from the Premier League team's point of view. To this point, it's come at no great cost, except it's encouraging the Stevenage players to believe that they have every right to be on the same pitch as their illustrious opponents. Not that I would think there have been too many doubts in that respect. Henry. Met by Dawson. And Byram's header. And a chance maybe for Bale to show his pace for the first time. Byram comes across and gets him run out of room.
That's what you call being dealt with. Ball and player off at the same time. Job done.
No complaints from Gareth Bale, and that was defending from the front from Jermaine Defoe. Yeah, Harry Redknapp wants a bit more snap into the passing, and you can't blame him.
Absolutely. He's seen, you know, a couple of little phases of 3 to 4 passes, and then the next one goes astray. He will not expect that to be happening too frequently.
Ronnie Henry with the throw. Defoe. Bale trying to take it first time with the shot. Rose. Well, that was Zaha, rather. It was a bit more meaningful from Spurs, and they're answering their manager's call.
Mind your head. It's that early snap shot across the face of goal. You don't think it's going to come. Zaha knows that goalkeepers don't get themselves set quickly. He can make that pay.
Remember the goal that he scored for Everton in the FA Cup final against Chelsea inside the first 30 seconds. Writing the record books, it wasn't enough to get him a Cup Winners' medal.
Oh, that feeling.
At least you got a second go at it, didn't you? 1990.
Yeah. Well, he's got it. We've already touched on it with Zaha. He has got it, and Harry's just looking, you know what, maybe we can bring it out of him. Maybe if we can manage him in a different way, and his talent will flourish for us.
I don't think Harry's a slave to those technical devices that measure how far players run during a match. That's what they do when they do get the ball. It matters to him.
I think he'll look at it and say, right, tell me anyway. I think he'll have people there to accrue that data. Whether he relies solely on it, I'm not quite sure.
Forward by Kabul. There's a danger when goalkeeper and defender get too close to each other in those circumstances, but stay calmness personified. Walker. Bale ahead of him. Switch of play from right wing back to left wing back. Plenty of players forward. Danny Rose had other options.
I can see why Danny Rose has opted for that, because when he stands his defender up, there's spacing behind. Nobody pulls across to fill that space, and I think if he gets a better strike with his right foot or gets a better ball across the face of goal, better outcome.
Scott Laird got himself some unwanted headlines after the win against Newcastle last season when a fan ran onto the pitch and laid him out. It was not a random attack.
It was bizarre, that was. It took a while for the investigation to turn out the real reason.
And the offender was properly punished. Something that Laird certainly didn't see coming.
Well, that's the last thing you'd expect.
It was through an affair of the heart, if you want any more. I think we'll draw a line under it then, and we'll hope to goodness that nothing similar happens after this game.
Please and thank you. See, Defoe's position there is quite wide. That means that defence, Ashton's been dragged well wide, so they're trying to divide the two centre-backs, Ashton and Roberts.
Ashton did have a Premier League upbringing with Leicester City when they were in the big time. He's had a decent career lower down, though. It's Bale. His bodies to try and fire it past. Tentative ask for handball. Spurs still in possession. Bale still in possession. Defoe. Certainly knowing he's in a game, with Ashton in particular trying to deal with his danger. And Stevenage based on strong defending capably then. And Phil Dowdie's going to now deal with this issue with John Ashton and Jermaine Defoe.
They get to play nicely or else.
And he flew through the air, not with the greatest of ease there, Jermaine Defoe. Yeah. And Ashton was certainly the man responsible for it.
It was a bit of a mismatch, isn't it? He's a big lad, Ashton. Defoe's character will mean he'll be back. That I have no doubt.
Jermaine Defoe missed out on Portsmouth's run. He was cup-tied in 2008. Kabul joined them the season after. So there's a few out here with a real wish to make progress in this competition.
Oh, FA Cup winner on your CV.
What have you done with your runners-up medal, by the way?
Sorry, no, it doesn't mean to be disrespectful. It's in a bank vault, I think.
Well, that shows you do value it.
Yes. No, I have the utmost respect for the FA Cup.
Walker. If you're not absolutely up to speed, Gary played in and scored in a 3-3 draw against Manchester United in 1990. In a replay, they lost by 1-0, which I mentioned very quickly, and we'll move on.
Once again, your own heart, thank you.
It's the turning point for Alex Ferguson as manager of Manchester United. Oh, the chance for Beardsley to write that headline that he's been speculating about in the run-up to this match.
The thought was there, the right thought was there. It's the execution, and you know what? That ball's dropping, and you're trying to hit it on the volley. And as you say, the headlines are being typed up and it all goes wrong.
He's completed his course, which is run by a former professional player, Laurie Madden.
I know Laurie, yeah.
And he got into journalism, and other players asked how and why, and he decided to show them. And the defender for Stevenage, Mark Roberts, is currently working towards that particular qualification as well, between playing cup ties like this for Stevenage. Wilson, not very far away, needs a bit of help, gets it from the header by Byram.
It's not the most dangerous side for Tottenham, that left-hand side.
It hasn't been tough going for Chris Day against his first club. So far, half an hour gone, Stevenage 0, Tottenham 0, 5th round of the FA Cup.
You'd have to say neither goalkeeper's been overly worked, and that in itself is a story. It's spent a lot of time in midfield, you have it, no you have it, and not the rhythm that you'd really expect.
Well, that will suit Stevenage, because the rhythm that Tottenham could put together is more than a match for most teams.
You've only got to look to last season and see the scalps that Tottenham took playing their brand of football.
Kabul. Rose didn't keep it in. Danny Rose made a spectacular debut. Gary Smith will know all about that. He scored in a North London derby. A first game, and many thought that he might not ever play again. He was then consigned to the shadows and went out on loan, but he's had a run in recent months when they've needed another left-back or a left-sider.
It's not often you say, you know what, spectacular introduction, maybe an understatement. It was the most amazing.
Yeah, it wasn't just a goal, was it? It was a goal that was unforgettable.
And you're right, it takes a bit of character to vanish off the radar like that.
Wilson. It's the opponent that Danny Rose there has to deal with. Spurs try again with Michael Dawson.
And look at the space he has. Same with Kabul on the other side.
Saha. Defoe trying to get away from John Ashton, I think. Or maybe not. Maybe he's looking for a bit of redress.
Well, as long as he stays focused on his game, that'll be an important thing. There's a lot of things on his mind.
Gary Smith will be pleased with the way his team have stuck to the plans that were put in place before the new manager took over, really. Here's Rose. He stayed on his feet. Oh, and it was, in the end, just too high for Kyle Walker, who'd made a run in from the right-hand side.
And he knows it. You can see his reaction. That is a wonderful ball in from Danny Rose. Good quick feet. Just sets it up at the far post. Yeah, probably Mark Roberts does exactly what he needs to do. Just get in the way of Kyle Walker. Just put him off his jump.
Actually, it was Laird, wasn't it, who came in, who is a centre-back by trade.
But even better if it's Laird, because it means that he's come in off his perch.
He followed his man.
Yeah, he's come in with him and tracked him. So, good concentration.
Because you had the left wing-back trying to deliver for the right wing-back, which is a justification of Harry Redknapp's choice if it led to an opening goal. Certainly was one of Tottenham's better moments. You think of Defoe side-footing wide by the near post. Saha's shot was just off target. Didn't too much else.
I wonder if Harry Redknapp is test driving this formation for other things. Let's start with Tottenham in the Premier League, yes. And then we'll move on.
Yeah.
It's that both wide men going in advance at the same time.
Of course, the third centre-back gives you the insurance to do that. Defoe. Rose. Livermore, flip cross. Oh, and Saha's got to it. And you thought then that he would have scored. Maybe he thinks it was a foul, and he's lost the boot.
You know what? Is it Laird again who gets this last touch? This is a great touch from Saha. Look, between the two defenders, and just enough to put the striker off. It is, you know, look, it's Laird again. 10 out of 10, sir.
As I say, he's been playing at left back. He's been scoring goals, and he's defending like a good. And he's played for England at non-league level. They call it the England C team. But prior to that, he was captain of Scotland schoolboys. He is really, to all intents and purposes, Scottish, and wants to represent Craig Levein. Well, if the Scotland national team manager is watching, he might just be impressed by the last couple of minutes.
Well, he won't do himself any harm.
No. Saha is not properly shot again. Sometimes the lower league club doesn't like the sight of a Premier League referee, who knows, of course, all the top players, probably by their Christian names. But today, in the earlier match, we had a Premier League official sending off a Stoke player. So it's not quite as simple as it might be seen, but Phil Dowd, I don't think, had any doubts here. He's right to give the big boys a free kick in maybe a big position.
There can be absolutely no complaints about that. It's all day, and it's not the place that Gary Smith will have wanted free kicks to be conceded. It's cheap to give away, but it could prove so costly.
Yeah, Ronnie Henry trying to make up the ground.
You know, when strikers do, they get in that position, they actually will slow down. So as you trying to make up the ground makes the contact. They're devious. Don't like them.
Well, he's chuntering away about who or why or how should be taken. Defoe, eyeing up Kabul, has got a fantastic strike on his right foot.
There's enough there.
Idea of what Chris Day might not be able to say, but by shifting it, you do get the charger in. And the charger again was our friend Scott Laird.
Well, he's ticking all the boxes right now, isn't he? Brave heart. There you go. His job done. That's the headline written. Bit disappointed with Tottenham. Moving it like that will allow someone that chance to close you down. Did notice Joe Jordan moved away from Harry in the dugout. Harry's ping going on and on and on, and he's had enough.
They've got a corner here, which Parker takes quickly. Dawson coming in, and it was going wide. And Stevenage is trying to break out. And look, certainly not too much wrong with Tottenham's defensive shape. But maybe there is a gap to be exposed here. Charles going on. Freeman, I think it was, who couldn't take it on. Numbers weren't the solution to the problem for Spurs then. Byram.
Tried to let play flow, didn't he, referee? Didn't quite happen, he brought it back. That in the 18-yard area. That's classic FA Cup. The net tackles are flying in, the ball gets stuck between people's feet, everything's going on, and no one knows what will happen.
All that's missing is the mud, which we, I guess, for the good of the game, we don't get so often these days. The tending of the grounds is so high level, high tech. On firm ground. A firm approach from Stevenage. By Bostwick. Another free kick. And again by those people you don't like, the front men. Gary getting across in front to Beardsley in front of Walker.
Well, Beardsley's got no other option. He's going nowhere, and Walker gives him every advantage. Pushes straight into him. You do that to a striker, they are going to hit the deck. And Walker's got more experience than that challenge shows us.
It's Freeman. 6 minutes left in the first half. One or two were giving that up. But Kudicini didn't, fortunately for Tottenham. So that was going to fly high and over.
You can't be certain, can he? It's dropping right under that crossbar. He's got to go for it, Kudicini. Test his wrists.
Stevenage putting on a bit of a squeeze here in the closing minutes of the first half. Charles. Oh, it's definitely the chest.
Saha, it's hit right square in the chest.
Wilson had stayed back.
Well, they left the foe up, so they've got to have two at the back, Stevenage.
Here's Laird. Wilson. Byram cuts it out. Byram still prepared to contest it. And again, he was a bit late that time on Parker. Might be a booking for Joel Byram.
Yeah, I think it's a booking, and Scott Parker, as he quite often with these things, sees it coming.
Started at the Blackburn Rovers Youth Academy. Got a good education in the game in that respect.
They produced one or two strong players, haven't they, over the years at Blackburn?
Here's a chance for Tottenham maybe to nose their way or head their way into a half-time lead. Walker. The outside of the foot and put it a bit off centre the other side.
I don't even understand what he was trying to achieve, whether it goes off the inside or outside, because a ball over in that direction just won't work. He's got to think a little bit more sophisticated. He's got three options ahead of him. This the one that hits Saha in the chest. No complaints at all from me.
It's a hopeful shout. You would shout if you were Chris Beardsley and you hit the shot.
Oh, you would, yes.
Why not ask the question? To deal with the facts of the matter when he becomes a journalist. Laurie Madden said he was a model student.
There you go. High praise indeed.
Walker. Now Dawson.
It's a bit sloppy. Tottenham don't need sloppy. Sloppy in a game like this will get you punished.
It's also using up time, and Tottenham haven't come here to get themselves another game and let's play for a draw. Stevenage will say over a short period of time, if we could be 0-0 with 10 minutes to go, we can have a right old go then.
Oh, you would. You take it a 10-minute game, absolutely.
But they're giving away free kicks.
Ashton and Defoe once again, isn't it, Martin? And what, this is the third free kick from almost the same spot?
Maybe a little bit more for Kabul's range. Joe Jordan's decided to engage with the manager over this one.
He has, hasn't he?
And he'll look away if this is skied into the trees. And the stand behind the goal guarded by Chris Day. Here comes Kabul. Look away now if you're Joe Jordan.
I mean, the angle of the strikes is just off target. I mean, this will show you. Keeps it down superbly well. It's just, from Chris Day's point of view, satisfactorily off target.
He's a real powerhouse and has done well. He's got himself into the French squad now after quite a long time of waiting, having played for a few years in the Premier League.
I think this season his game in the back end of last season improved a lot.
In by Wilson. Freeman trying to get there. Walker tracking his man. It's a difficult call, really.
Again, sloppy. I think that's sloppy. I think you've put Kudicini in a position where he's got to come out of goal and chase with it. Walker's for some reason not able to get there before Freeman.
Beardsley trying to keep it in. Probably Cudicini would have prevented the corner. Ended safely enough for Spurs.
It's interesting because if it's Walker that's tracking back with Freeman, Walker's the player that's pushed on, and that means we're not getting that player Dawson coming across.
Tottenham have lost just one of their previous 33 FA Cup ties against clubs from a lower division. 6 years ago when they were beaten by Leicester. Stevenage have got 5 forward in this attack. Wilson. And corner. That is very much Bostwick's range. Scored against Newcastle in that famous win last season.
It looked as if it was shaping up. It just didn't quite happen. Laurie Wilson, they got ahead of the ball. Bostwick's he's learnt to time his run. He's learnt not to get in there too early.
Only one added minute. We're into that. What a half-time fillip that could have been for Stevenage. It might still be. Freeman. Fancy his chances, taking on Parker. And then tossing it in towards the far post, where the power and physical presence of Stevenage is strong.
I think it's Dawson who gets on the end of this. Bodies flying in from all directions.
Yeah, the Scott Laird who went to the near post. Scored the winner against Sheffield Wednesday on Tuesday. Really set up a FA Cup sensation in the closing seconds of a very good first half for the League One outfit under Gary Smith. Only his 3rd game in charge, remember. They still haven't conceded a goal under the new manager. And Tottenham, who've revamped it here for the demands of this 5th round FA Cup tie. It's not going according to Harry Redknapp's plan so far. No breakthrough for Spurs at half-time. It's 0-0.
UEFA Euro 2012, every game. FA Cup, every round. South American World Cup qualifiers, 64 games. Over 700 games on Setanta in 2012.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Goal after goal after goal. It's football perfection.
We're playing at a completely different level here.
Oh, look at that! Can it get any better than this?
UEFA Euro 2012, every game. FA Cup, every round. South American World Cup qualifiers, 64 games. Over 700 games on Setanta in 2012.
And just a shout there from the opening forays, really, Gary, for handball.
There was, but I think ball hits hand, otherwise it's a pen.
That was Chris Beardsley thinking he might have done better with his far post header from the corner.
Set plays are a good route to goal for Stevenage. Just not able to get the direction on that.
Spurs playing with wing-backs. Danny Rose on the left with the freedom to push on.
And this delivery, stinging near post cross, low and hard sort of thing. Defoe thrives on. And Stevenage will have to be mindful of that little combination of Rose and Defoe on that side.
Bale going for goal, but Spurs coming again, and it fell for Saha.
Takes a strike early. Just tries to deceive Chris Day in the Stevenage goal. Just snapping that straight in.
His 3rd appearance, his latest club back in London, where of course he had many years with Fulham. Again, Danny Rose, Gary, a good avenue forward here for Spurs.
It is, and it's the combination of the two wing-backs. And we've been bigging up Laird at left-back all day, and he was duly on the spot to deny the England player a chance of a headed goal. Great cross, good work from both Walker and Laird.
Jermaine Defoe having quite a tussle with John Ashton at the back for Stevenage. And Saha here, not quite what happened when he took the first touch, Gary. I don't know about you, but I thought goal.
I did. I thought he's done brilliantly because he's chested it through two defenders and he's on his natural left foot. But I think Laird, once again, who comes across, just does enough. And you see, here, just puts him off and has to go underneath it, loses his boot in the process. Not Saha's day so far.
Dawson's header, 20th thump, actually was passing wide of that left-hand post as we looked. Harry Redknapp not over-pleased with what he's seen from his team, and Stevenage finished the half strongly with a succession of set plays.
Udicini pushed to the limit underneath his own crossbar. Won't be happy that's not been dealt with. Stevenage player is there first.
It's Laird who makes the runs to the near post. Back defending is Kabul. He did him a bit of disservice because it ended up a fair way wide, but actually for part of its journey it was on target.
It just fades away towards the end. And just another reminder to Stevenage, don't give free kicks away in those areas.
Scott Laird near post again.
You know, it's an obvious ploy from Stevenage to get across the near post with Laird, but Dawson right in the right place.
0-0 at half-time.
UEFA Euro 2012, every game. FA Cup, every round. South American World Cup qualifiers, 64 games. Over 700 games on Setanta in 2012. Live SPL continues this weekend on Setanta Sports. On Saturday night, it's to Paisley, with St Mirren welcoming Aberdeen. And on Sunday night, Rangers hope to put their recent troubles behind them as they take on Inverness. Live SPL this weekend on Setanta Sports. Live Bundesliga this weekend on Setanta Sports. Live Bundesliga this weekend on Setanta Sports.
Eight cities across Poland and Ukraine will be hosting UEFA Euro 2012, with games being played in some of the most spectacular stadiums seen at any major sporting event. The tournament's opening game is at the 50,000 capacity National Stadium in the Polish capital, Warsaw. The most eye-catching element is a spire from which a retractable roof can unfold, a design modelled on a simple bicycle wheel. The Municipal Stadium in Poznan was the first of the 8 venues to be ready for Euro 2012. Its namesake in Wrocław is another dynamic new build. It has a capacity of 40,000 and draws its inspiration from a lantern. The Arena Gdansk is the most visually spectacular of the 4 Polish stadiums. Its striking exterior resembles amber, a fossilized resin which has long been extracted from the nearby Baltic coast. In Ukraine, the Donbass Arena is the tournament's most eastern venue. It has a 50,000 capacity and will host 5 matches, including a semi-final. It's easy to see why the 35,000 capacity multi-purpose Metalist Stadium in Kharkiv is nicknamed the Spider Arena by locals. The 30,000 capacity Arena Lviv is the smallest of the 8 venues, but by no means the least impressive. Located in the centre of the capital, the Olympic Stadium in Kiev has been completely renovated. It gave architects the opportunity to create a first in stadium design. It will be here in this magnificent arena that 60,000 fans will witness the final of Euro 2012.
Live South American football with the Copa Libertadores on Setanta Sports. Experience the flair and the passion of South American football on Setanta Sports with live and exclusive coverage of the Argentine Primera Division. Watch 2 exciting and unpredictable matches from every round, featuring some of South America's footballing champions, including Boca Juniors. Plus, follow the season-long Apertura and Clausura tournaments. The Argentine Primera Division, live and exclusive on Setanta Sports. Aviva Premiership Rugby, live and exclusive on Setanta Sports. Watch comprehensive coverage of the world's best rugby competition with 3 games per round right through to the finals in May. Setanta Sports is your home for the best in club rugby tournaments, including the Rabo Direct Pro 12. Aviva Premiership Rugby, live and exclusive on Setanta Sports. Watch Euro 2012 live this June on Setanta Sports. Watch the Rabo Direct Pro 12 live and exclusive on Setanta Sports with 3 games per round. Follow some of the world's greatest players from the best teams in Ireland, Wales, Scotland and Italy, including European champions Leinster and Munster. Setanta Sports is your home for the best in European rugby competitions, including the Aviva Premiership, the Rabo Direct Pro 12 on Setanta Sports. Live Bundesliga this weekend on Setanta Sports. Live Bundesliga this weekend on Setanta Sports.
Hello, first day of footy tipping. Last year, best result in a long time. Tomo, good bloke, terrible tipper. Young Sam from the mailroom, you gotta watch those rookies. Susie, claims she hates footy, but tips like a pro. And Barry, back-to-back champion. Rumour has it he's got commemorative tattoos. Wouldn't spoon to make a nice tat, Barry.
Footytips.com.au. Become the one.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Goal after goal after goal. It's football perfection.
We're playing at a completely different level here.
Oh, look at that. Can it get any better than this?
UEFA Euro 2012, every game. FA Cup, every round. South American World Cup qualifiers, 64 games. Over 700 games on Setanta in 2012.
This program is brought to you by the new Adidas MyCoach Speed Cell.
Welcome back to the Lamex Stadium in Stevenage. Tottenham had Nico Crancher warming up with his top off as if he was going to start the second half, and there's Tony Parks, the goalkeeping coach, maybe saying Harry's changed his mind. And there is the man himself. The type of warm-up he was doing, Gary, suggested he thought he was coming on Crancher.
Yeah, he's stripped and ready. You can see him now. He's still not got a vest on. I think we can lip read there. Warm up. So I think Harry's looking to see what happens. Maybe someone's just carrying a knock.
Well, all credit to Stevenage, who are on a rich vein of form themselves. We shouldn't forget that and patronise them too much. They're a decent side in a decent league, League One. One defeat in their last 20 matches through 4 rounds of this competition, the furthest they've ever gone in the FA Cup. And Tottenham certainly know they're in a game.
Yeah, Tottenham have not been able to establish a rhythm, not been able to work Chris Day in that Stevenage goal, and all credit to them for it.
Second half underway. Isn't much thought in the Tottenham minds about being happy to get a second go at this back at White Hart Lane.
Not a game they don't need. They do not need a replay.
I think the same applies to Stevenage as well, although I think a lot of the players would like to play in a Premiership environment.
Yep. The chairman wants the money, the players want the glory.
Beardsley. Wilson outside him. Myron going through the middle, one of the midfield players, the other Bostwick holding. Try and deal with this sort of break. They've left a bit of space between the midfield and the back four, and Gareth Bale driving through. And Chris Day got enough on it with the most difficult piece of work that he's had in the game so far, the former Tottenham goalkeeper, and he did it well.
And this is deja vu. How many times have we seen Bale just rampage through the centre of a team and unleash a left-foot drive? Credit today. Just enough on it to stop it going in. Just.
Matched away by Day. Good goalkeeping again. Spurs don't have to worry, Gary. There doesn't look like there's much searing pace in the Stevenage ranks, and that's one thing you do notice between the top level and the lower down. If anyone's really quick like Bale, they're playing.
They tend to leave
a
ladder, clean pair of heels. It's just that noticing for the first time there, Stevenage was stretched. There was big gaps between front, midfield and defence, and if they're allowing that to happen now and Spurs create that, that's where the speed does tell.
I wouldn't be surprised if the current Tottenham boss and the public's choice England to be the next national team boss, hasn't torn a strip or two off these players during the half-time interval, because it's been they've done enough not to go behind, but not enough to get in front. Of Bale's run at the start of the second half and the subsequent shot might sense that the message has been received and understood.
You're right. He is jovial, he is quick-witted, and you love the football that his team plays. But Harry, I don't think, allows you to go to bed wondering what he's thinking about. He tells you, and you've got Joe Jordan and Kevin Bond around him who are very similar. Interesting with the Cranshaw thing warming up, whether he thought he was coming on and communication got confused.
Rose again. It's a little bit more zip and ambition, qualities that Tottenham didn't have in abundance in the first half. Sunderland, Bolton and Everton from the Premier League through yesterday. Stoke City earlier today. Liverpool play later. Home advantage against a side from a lower division, Brighton, but Brighton have played some wonderful football this season under Gus Poyet.
They have previous history in the FA Cup for beating Liverpool. Stay tuned.
Kabul, we'll break off that because Kabul finds Rose. There's Charles showing that he can defend, as much of his career has been played in defence. But Livermore to Bale.
It's good play from Stevenage. Spurs are having to go backwards and sideways.
They've still got the ball. It's lost by Defoe. Byron. Long from Wilson. Here's Henry. So that passage of play, it looks like maybe Wilson and Henry have swapped. Anyway, the shots are blocked. Possibly just how they found themselves, having had that spell of defending. But Wilson is a right back.
He's worked hard to try and double up on Henry, because he knew, obviously through the first half, that Danny Rose had created a number of problems for him, which I think Gary Smith will have addressed, or tried to.
Yes, those two will probably have gone to sleep last night thinking they would deal with this fella, or have to deal with him. But Gareth Bale has other duties in this Tottenham lineup. 6 changes, remember, from the side that won 5-0 against Newcastle in the Premier League in their last match. Freeman. Laird to put it in. It did take a deflection, but not enough to carry it behind for a corner.
Just takes the pace off the cross, doesn't it? And now Wilson's got to do the tracking back. That's the one thing they did pretty well in the first half, Stevenage. Kept their shape, sat back into their own half, made themselves difficult to break down.
Bostwick. To Kudachini, who's got a couple of FA Cup winners' medals, but in matches he didn't play in, the sub-goalkeeper. Chelsea in 2000 and 2007. The one he did play in, he lost to Arsenal in 2002. You notice I'm getting off the subject of Brighton versus Liverpool in the FA Cup.
Yes. I am.
Which Gary will return us to at his wish.
No. That's it, 9 under.
Livermore. Bale. Livermore again. So put it through to Walker. Now Bale. Well, these are big minutes at the start of the second half for Stevenage. Spurs, we feel sure, fired up by some feisty reaction from the manager during the half-time interval.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, at the moment, Tottenham are huffing and puffing. They're trying to blow that house in. But if you see when Bale and Livermore and Walker all park up on the edge of that 18-yard area, the discipline, the numbers are there in white shirts. They're, credit to Gary Smith and Graham Westlake, they are well organised.
Remember, this is their 5th game in the competition. They still have not conceded 1 goal. And they are a side capable of winning games 1-0. Have got ways of scoring. Not the sophistication of the Spurs football, which is shooting from long range from Michael Bostwick.
It's always a high-end gamble, and the manager there knows it, but it's the definite route to goal from them in free play. The other one is set placed. I mean, look at the space. He just gets away from Livermore there, but off balance when he strikes.
And he's not frightened to miss, Bostwick. That was off the mark. Won't discourage him from letting rip the next time he gets into those sort of positions, and I suppose would be mindful of that fact. Parker, pressed by Beardsley. Nelson putting it back. It's gone back to beyond where he's come from.
They're proving at the moment to be impenetrable. So they've got to come up with a different way. Whether they go a little bit longer, whether they just up that tempo of passing. Because at the moment, you're looking at it and saying, am I getting enough movement out of Saha and Defoe?
Bale. Came short. Sahab was pulling away on the shoulder of the furthest defender. Bale. Good defending again.
If you've got a team that sits back on you like that, puts numbers in there, invariably you need width. You need to open that space up. And then if you're looking at your 2 strikers, and I'm sure there's something they're discussing right now, they need to come back towards the ball, go on beyond, make runs that distort that shape.
Parker. There is the width, provided by Rose, who had a good first half. And it's an excellent ball in, and Saha. Well, they were complaining about offside. There was another Tottenham player on the line, and it has been disallowed. Darren Cann, who ran the line in the World Cup final, no less, in South Africa.
Not on Louis Saha's Christmas list, I'll tell you that now. All right, you've got the width, you've got the penetration, you've got defenders facing their own goal. Scott Parker.
It's offside.
Is he interfering with play?
The ball hits it.
That's my point. Yes.
Maybe if he got out the way, it might have been a different decision, but...
Tough on Louis Saha, very tough. But it just shows you that aspect of width, pace and crosses.
On such incidents, FA Cup history can turn.
And those 2 old, wise heads know exactly that much.
An FA Cup winning manager talking to an FA Cup runner-up as a player, Joe Jordan with Manchester United. So Parker, who certainly didn't want to touch the ball, but
had no option. It's the ball touching him rather than him to ball.
And for most officials' money, the best assistant referee in the country. Here's Saha trying to do it without any intervention from Darren Cann. There's somebody there who's been and done it all, done the Champions League final and the World Cup final. He knows what he's about.
You couldn't have more interference with play than that, could you, really? Apart from catching it.
But the flag didn't go up straight away, did it? And he considered it, and Phil Dowd waited for instructions, and no goal. Still Stevenage 0, Tottenham 0.
You know, if an official makes that considered approach, and then it's the quality of eyes on that decision, then yeah, you've got to say he got it right.
Dawson, so Spurs have to look again for a breakthrough here. Freeman has got that just little edge of ability that took him to Arsenal from Gillingham. Arsenal rather gave up on him. So here he is with Stevenage now after a loan here as a permanent signing, trying to do the best way of impressing Arsenal really by helping them beat Spurs. Wilson on the opposite flank to Luke Freeman. It's Bostwick. Henry. He's held up a trophy at Wembley for Stevenage as the captain of one of their FA Trophy successes. Beardsley. Goodness me, that was travelling.
You heard that thump, didn't you? Sonic boom.
Byram's left foot.
Whoops. You just wonder there when that ball got slid into Beardsley, where he would just roll Kabul and try for that curler onto the far post.
Joel Byram here. Cudicini will tell you he would have saved it, but it was travelling. Didn't travel far enough for Stevenage, who have travelled further than they've ever done before in this competition, to be involved in the last 16. A chance for place in the last 8, but Bale, it bobbled up did cruelly for him.
It did just, didn't it? But look at those white shirts back in between Gareth Bale and the goal. Very stretched, the front three almost pushing on to Tottenham's back three, and then a real chasm. This for a bubble. Whoops.
Bronze whispering away. Constant companion of Harry Redknapp in his drives to work from South Coast, where both of them live.
Yeah, they spent a lot of time together, haven't they? From Southampton through Portsmouth, now Tottenham.
And I know you love a bit of FA Cup trivia. Of course, Kevin Bond's father, John,
absolutely
managed Manchester City in a famous FA Cup final and replay against Tottenham. The Ricky Villa replay, was the manager on the receiving end of that, 1981.
Steve McKenzie goal is mostly forgotten, which was absolutely
Here's Wilson. Stevenage's throw. Henry in a hurry to take it. Bostwick, almost an hour gone. Still 0-0. In a hurry to let fly. To rush that by Freeman that time.
Otherwise he slashes at this because he's under pressure. He knows he is. So Livermore just comes right in out of screen and does what he can to put a striker off.
Were you there at that 81 Cup final?
Absolutely. Part of the squad. And it is the finest goal I've ever seen at Wembley.
It's a good spell from Stevenage after Tottenham had started the second half, the brighter of the two outfits. And that confidence reflected by Byram again. Further out that time, no block, but it just flew too high from Stevenage's perspective.
You got him and Bostwick, haven't you? Not shy in coming forward. Strike on the run, never the easiest, and that is only a whisker away. That ball was moving.
It would have been an easy headline. Joel goal. I didn't pass the course, by the way. Here's Rose.
Got some homework to do, haven't you?
Parker. Dawson. Gets it away, though. Charles. Good footwork as well as good upper body strength. Laid it off. He's gone on, and Stevenage again. We talked about making it a shorter game. And still quite long, isn't it, from Gary Smith's point of view? Half an hour to go.
It is. But when you're pushing Tottenham back, when Harry's coming out of his dugout there, he's banged his head by the looks of it. And yeah, that's the sort of reaction you want on the other side of that technical area if you're Gary Smith.
And you're delighted when a team with many talents play a speculative long ball like that. Just gift possession back to you, Stevenage.
Well, you touched on it. although I'm not quite sure Tottenham are in the title race. Mathematically, they still are, so therefore, yes. When you can keep them at bay for over an hour, which a lot of teams have failed to do, when you can make them descend to just an abstract long ball, you can't be doing it too wrong.
Byron winding up again. And in goes Beardsley. Cudicini couldn't hold it. They're getting closer, Stevenage. Ashton wants to see it out and will be able to do that. Not making it difficult for him.
I think back now it's a case of, well, why is Byron getting in that area? Because if he's going to get in there unmarked, I see Cudicini, look at the space. He's got in behind Livermore and he's in between Livermore and the three centre defenders. I'm surprised Cudicini finds this too hard to handle. It's
actually, I think he was just trying to sort of control it rather than catch it, and it got further away from him than any goalkeeper would have wanted using that technique.
We said these balls do move.
In Stevenage's case, these boys do move. They're putting in a very good shift here.
Absolutely.
And Harry Redknapp is taking off his right wing back, Kyle Walker, bringing on a genuine midfield player, Nico Kranjčar, who also helped himself to a goal. Yeah, back four.
He's had enough of that. Experiment over.
Thanks, Harry. We did get it the first time, but just confirming. Four at the back.
Seal of approval from himself.
Dawson. So Kabul has gone to right back. Kranjčar. He's a very good passer of the ball.
Almost immediate impact on the game. But that's just exactly what Saha and Defoe need.
Wilson. To be fair, he overcooked the pass a little bit. Even if Beardsley had anticipated, I don't think he really kept it in.
As you touched on already, probably apart from Freeman, there's not a great deal of pace through midfield and attack for Stevenage right now.
One player with top-class pace, really, and Bale has been shackled so far by the Stevenage method. They are doing themselves proud, League One proud, and the FA Cup proud. Spurs with a goal disallowed early in the second half, might have lifted their game. Parker. It's a nice change of direction against Byram. It's a kind of sideways ball with a couple of players in space, leaving it for Kranjčar. At 20 minutes of the second half. Livermore. Picked up by Dawson. Dealt with by Ashton.
Too easy to deal with. You know, it's from deep, it's a long way, it's time to read it, time to assess it, and it plays to Stevenage strength.
Bale. Kabul to Livermore. Premier League fitness might come into it, of course. Livermore gave an example of that. Perhaps Tottenham haven't shown that often enough, the physicality that you have to have for all the skill that's needed at the top level. Parker crossing early. Playing by day.
One of the things that, if you ask anyone that came up against Stevenage in the last year or so, they're fit. They are fit. I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to see out this game with the way they started it.
Change for Gary Smith. Off comes Chris Beardsley. And Ben May replaces him. Ben was around Millwall at the time they got to the FA Cup final in 2004.
Real handful. Big physical presence, another one for Tottenham to deal with.
By Livermore.
No complaints, come on, it's a foul.
You're not going to argue with Darius Charles, are you?
Well, to be fair, Charles gets up and gets on with it.
But there is a psychology in this. Some teams might just think, well, we've given them 3/4 of the game, we really did well, we held them, and it can be a defeat, but a glorious one. But Stevenage aren't made like that. They've come here to win the game.
Absolutely.
Freeman takes. There's a bit of threat to it as well.
Well, someone's only got to get across the flight of that. Just change that direction and Kudacini is all at sea.
This was Danny Rose with a lapse in control. Freeman clipped by him. Got himself into trouble in the first place.
Just a little bit slack mentally. And then he's forced into a recovery and a lunge.
Cannot say they weren't warned. As I mentioned earlier, Joe Jordan and Clive Allen went up to see them at Hillsborough, where Gary Smith, Mark Newsom there as assistant. They came back full of praise for Stevenage. Who beat Sheffield Wednesday, who were right up there in that right position in League One. A touch on, and it's come out fortunately for Tottenham to Cranchar.
Well, they can't say they didn't know what they were coming up against.
Defoe. One-on-one with Henry, only for a moment, but he's still going, Defoe. Wilson trying to see him out. And, they've got a corner out of it.
That's good strength from Jermaine Defoe. You know, he's not the tallest guy, but he's got to be in there and be strong and powerful, even just to get a corner.
Coming towards the 70-minute mark. Tottenham's corner. Dawson trying to get it down, but Charles was too strong for him. Well, whatever happens from here on, we've seen again why we all love this competition so much. Big gaps can be bridged in league status.
Reputations have to be delivered on.
Manchester United out, Manchester City out, Arsenal out. Spurs have been a good place, but they're not even through to the quarterfinals yet. Although it might come now. At the moment, the offside flag was up anyway. Sort of think, because it's Spurs approaching the Stevenage penalty area, that there will be that switch flicked, but it's much easier to say than to do.
They seem to have lacked that Van der Vaart, that Modric creativity. That's something that changes a game for him.
Well, maybe Cranchar is that, and he's from that particular, a P from that pod, isn't it?
He is. I'm just wondering if he's playing a slightly more withdrawn role, the impact for Zaha and Defoe isn't quite there, and they've been desperate for something decent to feed on.
Rose. Cranchar. Kabul breezes past Freeman. A driving run and a fierce cross. Bale, well, we haven't seen him very often, wide left. Narrowing it now and very well met by Laurie Wilson.
Wilson does well. Reads the situation, doesn't dive in.
1,400 Tottenham fans in the crowd of around 6,700, hoping that this corner provides some salvation to the reputation of the players. They're still in a decent place, they're not trailing, but they are vulnerable to one sensational moment it would be at the other end.
And that's just it. That is exactly it, the vulnerability of a 0-0 scoreline.
This is May. Where the support was, but understandably it wasn't quite so. Wilson's just been defending for his life at the other end.
See, for me, Cranchar now wide right by the technical areas. The impact for Defoe isn't that good, is it?
But Kabul has found him, and Defoe finds Parker. Zaha maybe not quite as quick off the blocks as he once was.
I think the referee's got to bring that back for Defoe being upended.
You called it. If he's spoken to him, he hasn't given a free kick. Maybe he felt that Tottenham had enough of an advantage for the game to be where it is now with a Danny Rose throw. It's Cranchar, that's where he can be dangerous with a pass or a shot. Overuse of the muscles by Yunus Kabul. And the change, let's see, is Don Cowan, who comes from Ireland. 22 years old. Again, a change up front. So it was Charles and Beardsley, and now it's Cowan and May.
Why freshen your strike force if you don't think you can win it? If you don't think you can get a goal?
Well, I might feel that just we talked about the qualities of the other two, strength and in Beardsley's case, a very thoughtful player up front. Now there's just a little bit more animal aggression, speed, and particularly in Cowan's case. Suited for the later stages against a Premier League side that shouldn't labour physically, but might just labour psychologically. A game that Harry Redknapp's come here expecting to win, and may well win, but if it is to be a victory, it'll be very hard earned. Cowan can't quite get away.
It's a little change-up, isn't it? Stevenage.
Here's Defoe. And Bale. Well, the man coming in at the back post, Zaha, was attracted to the ball, but if he'd left it, Scott Parker would have had a very presentable opportunity.
Yeah, it was there to miss for Scott Parker. I don't know whether Zaha gets a call or whether he ignores it. Strikers, they will always have that instinct to try and make the contact.
Yeah, I can't blame him for that.
No.
It's good work by Freeman. Every now and then. You can see why Arsenal signed him.
You can see why, as a teenager, there was a buzz about him.
He's still a teenager. There's still a buzz. He did well then.
Very early in his teen years at Gillingham, yes.
Yeah, 15-year-old in the FA Cup for Gillingham. Here's Cowan. Bursting to get on. He's got the chance to see if he can do something. He's trying to win a corner there. Good idea. Come off for him.
In case for a foul against him there. Danny Rose pushes him in the face at one stage.
Nice thing about the early kickoffs, the youngsters can enjoy it. Don't worry about what time they've got to be up in the morning. They'll finish around 4 o'clock local time. Byron.
15-minute game, or thereabouts.
Yeah.
What Gary Smith would have had in mind.
Cranchar. Now Livermore. Cranchar in the middle. It's Bale who's gone out to the right-hand side. Another switch by Tottenham. Bale often plays there for Wales. Kabul. Nicely worked by the two Tottenham lads. Bale with something special. He's gone back to Kabul again. Got for Cranchar.
Wanted it on that right boot, didn't he?
And on the left boot from Bale, but hoping for a run across towards the near post area. Again, discontent. It's the three wise men of Tottenham.
on checking his watch. They're getting edgy now. Now they know from experience that this is what the cup can do to you.
One slip and you're out.
Yep.
And there are two people who'd be very glad at that at the moment. It'd be Arsene Wenger and Andre Villas-Boas, who've dominated the Sunday papers here. And the travails at Arsenal and Chelsea. Although Chelsea is still in the cup, we should stress that. I didn't mention them earlier. They've got a replay though against Birmingham away. Held at home by Chris Hughton's man. Chris Hughton twice won the FA Cup as a player with Tottenham. The top guy.
I'm doing a splendid job at Birmingham City.
Who knows? Maybe a future Tottenham manager. Here is Henry.
Assistant, hasn't he?
Yeah. Long-time assistant. Nobody ever thought he would be a number one. Maybe not even Chris himself.
I always thought Chris knew his own mind, very much so.
McDonough is the assistant, having a little disagreement, just an explanation to Wilson why it's a Spurs throw. Stevenage can squeeze them in down here if they get it right. The length of the throw from Rose, and then some clever play by Saha, and Spurs can get out now.
Just draws the foul out of Ron Henry, doesn't he?
Dawson. Now Parker. Harry Redknapp has chopped and changed his approach, the shape of the team, players within the shape of the team. Primarily, apart from bringing on two fresh strikers, Gary Smith has stuck to what his side do well. But Rose, Wilson wants to see it out, well played.
It's been a good little cameo between Rose and Wilson, has it not? Down that flank. Both chased the other each for the most of the game. I think you've got to give credit to Stevenage and to Gary Smith if Harry Redknapp has set his team out and he's had to change them.
Maybe all that running up and down the flank for the best part of 80 minutes has damaged Danny Rose. It's cramp or muscles gone.
He's done a lot of running. And Laurie Wilson will take credit for that.
Certainly the calf area. You certainly can get cramp there. So Gareth Bale, what's your next job? Go and score us the goal to put us into the draw.
I think it's a case of that, which means possibly another switch for Gareth Bale.
Yeah. Rose off, Lennon on. Gary Smith will be the first to admit that he came into a job that really shouldn't have become vacant, and Graham Wesley was doing a fantastic job. He just had the desire to take another opportunity, and you usually get a managerial post when the team's in chaos.
Yeah, it's not often you take over a team that is doing particularly well, and you're right. But it's a gift horse, isn't it, for him?
But on the other hand, you've seen he's been there more than a month. It's only his third game because of the bad weather. And here we are well into that third game, and he's still not seen his side concede a goal. He thought he had today, maybe.
Maybe.
It was disallowed. Darren Canny just got a glimpse of in the foreground of your picture.
Sometimes the best thing to do is to leave it well alone. If it was going particularly well and the players know exactly what they're about, you just have to just shape it ever so much.
I think the back four is very much a case in point.
Well, even the back five with Day, the goalkeeper.
Yeah, absolutely. Come a long way together in terms of league status, from the top non-league ranks to conference, straight through League Two via the playoffs. And now heading for maybe another end-of-season finale in the playoffs of the league that they're in the moment, should take them into the second tier of English football in no time at all. Parker. Livermore. the ingredient that's been missing. Tried to foul him. Shouts for handball from Spurs supporters.
There were some shouts, weren't there? And I just think Lennon might be that quick little burst of speed, quick feet, but he's got to be doing his job in the 18-yard area.
Game's been stopped for injury.
It's this skill, it's this ability to go past players that I think is what could help Spurs. Henry's gone down and stayed down.
Just struck Borthwick, didn't it? And he got it away. It's interesting, Luke Freeman's situation there against Lennon. He gives away the foul and the manager shouts him, don't give away free kicks in dangerous areas, but the balls still come in very dangerously as well. It's a no-win situation, really, if you can't cope with that sort of Premier League pace.
Spurs in the Premier League can't cope with that sort of pace.
You're right, you're absolutely right. That's why Tottenham are such a dangerous team. Funny enough, I don't think they score quite as many goals as they possibly could. And they have their great days when they get their 5 against Newcastle, and you know they are averaging now best part of 2 a game. But sometimes you see them play and they pass and pass and pass, and when they do fall short of Manchester City, who have plenty more goals than that, 15 more, might just be a factor.
Well, there is that criticism levelled at Modric that he doesn't weigh in with enough goals.
And of course Defoe is a real goal grabber and is Spurs' leading scorer this season. He can't get in the team
exactly
every week. He's got a dozen. And if you have a mind to have a little wager, if there was going to be a goal in this last 6 minutes, I suppose he'd be pretty high on the list, wouldn't he? He'd be the shortest price.
It would be, especially with Lennon on, his ability to twist and turn.
Here's Henry. Bostwick.
Firstly, Tottenham would have to get the ball at the other end.
Yeah.
This team aren't making it that easy for them.
Felt the hot breath. Phil Wallace, who's done so much to mastermind what Stevenage have done here. Come back from the States where he's been doing business. Just got back in time to get to Hillsborough on Tuesday for a famous win. Sheffield Wednesday, more used to playing at Tottenham's level than they are playing at Stevenage's level. Here's Crancher. Can Spurs do it in the last 5 minutes? Can Stevenage hold out? They've got Aaron Lennon, and a fresh Aaron Lennon as well in the chest. And Phil Dadd actually had a much better angle on that than we did.
He did have a good look at it, didn't he? It just shows you since his arrival, Aaron Lennon's had 2 little bursts from run that have created problems, big problems for Stevenage.
Freeman. One thing about Luke Freeman, Tottenham had to work really hard to contain him. But everything that he's tried has come off. He's been ambitious, backed his own skill with the ball.
He's come back at him.
He hasn't
time and time again.
Here's Crancher. Spurs, by their own admission, lucky to get past Watford in the last round. With a 1-0 success. Lennon, Saha, Lennon. I'd have torn up my betting slip because I would have backed Defoe.
Well, I'm just thinking if I were a Spurs fan, I'd be saying, someone please shoot. Because the ball into Saha doesn't favour his left foot. He cuts it back inside and it's past the parcel.
Well, you can, against some teams from a lower division, you can take that luxury of the extra pass, but Stevenage's defensive record is fabulous.
Yeah, and you can see why. They get bodies back, they're disciplined, there's good communication in there, and they've shown they are not an easy team to break down through midfield and back four.
Wasted too many opportunities like that, but there's a lot of emotion that goes into a match of this calibre when you're the underdog, and whether they one or two are starting to feel the pace of the whole experience, just the running.
This is true. So deserved applause.
Well, Phil Edwards, who can play in midfield or at the back. His first season at the club. Might just be the first defensive move from Gary Smith.
Not quite a lockdown, but it just shows you, you know what, yeah, we'll go to the lane then. We'll be happy with that.
He can go and visit his sets of grandparents who live very close on both sides of the family. Here's Cowan, who's not thinking about a replay. He's thinking about his name up in lights here at the Lamex Stadium. Dawson. Reckon about 5 minutes to go with added time. Classic FA Cup scenario. The underdogs are still in it, and a one never-to-be-forgotten moment away from confirming a place in the annals. They should have one anyway for this cup run, the best in their history.
They've not been second best so far in this game.
Crancher.
Just got the signs that Tottenham are resigned to going back to the lane themselves. Passes like that, body language.
Booted forward by Dawson. Saha. Famed for a very early goal in an FA Cup final. Maybe a candidate for a very late one here in the 5th round. Parker. It's nicely laid off, but not so many getting forward now for Gary Smith's team. First time, really, they've just decided keep the shape. I wonder whether that could be a flaw, a rare flaw. Otherwise, it's been a really terrific display. So what a good team they are. Saha. Crancher. Kabul. As we go into added time at the Lamex Stadium. Crancher. Twisting, turning, having to go wide. Lennon wants it back from Saha. It's a strange clearance.
It's a bad clearance. Just inviting Tottenham to come back at you.
Livermore. This is where psychology in sport is so fascinating, because Stevenage really were giving Tottenham plenty of problems.
Still might.
Yeah, they certainly might with Cowan's run. And Wilson, who's been at it right from the first whistle to the last. Terrifically athletic performance from Stevenage's number 2 down the right-hand side. Comes back out again to Henry. And all that Tottenham heritage in his family. Lennon, who is capable of going the full length of the pitch if you let him. Saha possibly not so now. Harry Redknapp is usually very generous in praise for the opposition, and I think he's 90 seconds away from having to
Showed that side of his character again, absolutely.
But he might still do it as a winner. It's got to be almost from the last attack. Crancher. The ball. Well, there was time for a touch there, and just let fatigue get the better of him that time, Wilson. Crancher. It'll be very hard on Stevenage if they falter in the closing seconds here. Lennon, great angle for the cross. Too high for Parker. And some gasps of relief from the Stevenage supporters. That might turn into celebration. It's Cowan. Oh, well, why not? But he didn't set himself. He saw that name up in lights.
Oh, that's the rush of blood. That's that rush of blood that comes in and blocks all your calculation and thinking.
We are seconds away, and in fact it's confirmed Stevenage are in the draw for the quarter-finals. They still haven't conceded in the FA Cup. Harry Redknapp's team came here much changed, and much change again during the match because Stevenage gave them that many problems. They couldn't break them down. You just sense that in the stadium quite a few of these supporters have soft spots for both these clubs. It's Tottenham territory out here at Stevenage, and it's in the essence of it all quite a perfect result for both camps, except for Tottenham, who don't want another game. They will be at home in the replay, and even stronger favourites to go through. But they've got to crack this Stevenage defence. Scott Parker got in the way of what would have been a goal for Louis Saha, and the offside decision correctly given. That was as close as Tottenham came, and yet another proud achievement by Stevenage FC, as they're known these days. They are in the draw for the quarter-finals, and they go to White Hart Lane. They'll love that as well. Final score at the Lamex Stadium: Stevenage 0, Tottenham Hotspur 0.
UEFA Euro 2012, every game. FA Cup, every round. South American World Cup qualifiers, 64 games. Over 700 games on Setanta in 2012.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Goal after goal after goal. It's football perfection.
We're playing at a completely different level here.
Oh, look at that. Can it get any better than this?
UEFA Euro 2012, every game. FA Cup, every round. South American World Cup qualifiers, 64 games. Over 700 games on Setanta in 2012.
He was the chief tormentor for Stevenage. Danny Rose proved wide, gets him behind, tries to feed Jermaine Defoe near post. Doesn't quite come off, does it, for the diminutive striker?
But throughout the game, although Tottenham got just about within range, what you would call clear-cut opportunities, Gary, very few and far between. This really wasn't one. It was a shot from a difficult angle.
The Stevenage defence are well marshalled. They sit quite deep, so chances to get in behind are rare, and chances like this from strikes from that distance are more the norm.
Certainly, Laurie Wilson had a fine game for Stevenage, but he was challenged a few times by Rose in the first half. Kyle Walker, this is when they were still playing three at the back, Spurs, which was a surprise to us that they came here to do that.
They did. Rose again gets in behind. Laird comes in from his left-back spot, tracks in Kyle Walker, does enough to put him on off to the header. In a rare moment, Tottenham get close to the Stevenage goal.
And Saha lost a boot and didn't get a goal. And, he thought the chance was looming large.
Again, it's Laird who comes in. Beautiful chest pass from Zaha for himself. Gets between the two defenders. Can't get the contact.
Red useful in both penalty areas. Prepared to attack the ball. It would have been. He'd actually turned his back on it. But it dipped for Cudicini to have to deal with.
Let's just get across the flight of the ball. Make it difficult. Cudicini forced into a bit of work.
Approaching half-time, not in the best frame of mind, seeing several shooting chances from set pieces spurned.
Yep, Tottenham not having the best of luck in front of goal in terms of free kicks.
Well, we thought Spurs would come out having had a strip torn off them at half-time, and this was in the opening seconds of the second half, and it was as good an effort as they came up with, really, in the match from Gareth Bale.
Stevenage get caught on a counter-attack. You see the spaces there between midfield and defence. It opens up with good movement ahead of Gareth Bale. And how many times we've seen him pierce the back of the net to stay there, just enough to deflect it.
Well, this is the moment that Tottenham will look back and analyse, but I don't think they can come up with a reason whether they were robbed. Danny Rose again, no surprise he was involved in a set-up.
You get a defence facing its own goal. You can see the Stevenage players screaming at the linesman. Scotty Parker in an offside position. And when you're on the goal line and it hits you, you can't really be more than interfering with play, can you?
I think this tells us that the whole of the ball wasn't over the line when it hit him, and therefore it was rightly disallowed. Joel Byram showed a real quality in that left foot from that sort of range.
You know what? He's been given an invitation to unleash a strike at Cudicini's goal. A lot of space ahead of him, doesn't get closed down.
At this stage, just losing a bit of their discipline in midfield. Livermore trailing Byram, he couldn't stop the shot coming in. Cudicini, I think, rather than fumble it, was trying to just parry it, but needed some help.
He did, and I think not long after that we see the introduction of Crenshaw and a change in Harry's formation, which tells you.
This was Bale, and Zaha couldn't convert it.
This program is brought to you by the new Adidas My Coach Speed Cell.
UEFA Euro 2012, every game. FA Cup, every round. South American World Cup qualifiers, 64 games. Over 700 games on Setanta in 2012. Live SPL continues this weekend on Setanta Sports. On Saturday night, it's to Paisley, with St Mirren welcoming Aberdeen. And on Sunday night, Rangers hope to put their recent troubles behind them as they take on Inverness. Live SPL this weekend on Setanta Sports.
Welcome to the FA Cup preview show. We're down to the last 16 following another exhilarating round of cup action. For some it proved a day to remember, for others a day to forget. As a trip to Wembley draws one step closer, it's sure to be another enthralling instalment of the